Matt Stein, Director of Communications and Community Outreach, and I are pleased to present you with an overview of our proposed 24-25 North Colony School District budget and our capital project. We always begin with our mission statement. Our mission statement guides us in everything we do, and especially in the development of our budget, as we want to make sure that everything we do is aligned to our greater purpose. And our purpose is making sure that we provide all of our students with opportunities and the support that they need in order to be able to engage in relevant work, challenging work, and work that will contribute to their academic and social growth and development. We want to take care of the whole child and help them grow in all ways possible. And also that all staff, teachers, and administrators are part of a larger learning community where we work together to build our capacity so that we can ensure that we're always doing the best possible to provide a high quality, relevant, and equitable education for all of our students. We do this by making sure we focus on our three pillars: academic excellence, equity, and social emotional health. If we stay rooted in our pillars when we're making our decisions and when we're putting together our budget, we know we will be fulfilling the tenets of our mission. So this year, we're going to spend a little time talking to you about, or tonight we're going to talk a little bit about the new programs and initiatives and staffing that will be a part of this year's budget. For new programs, we have some exciting possibilities when we think about helping each student find his or her passion. So we're going to start with a freshman seminar. This will be a class that will be for credit for all freshmen who come into Shaker High School. This will help them to get acclimated to the high school, to make new friends in the high school, to find clubs and activities that are aligned with their interests, and set them up well for a successful high school career. We're also offering a new elective called Take a Look at Teaching. This is a new course that will act as an elective. It will count for English credit. Students who enroll in this class will have the ability to take the teacher assistant certification exam at the end of the course. So students who pass the course and an exam will actually end up with teacher assistant credentials, and the very next summer could be employed in a summer program as a teacher assistant. We will be adding an athletic training component to our program. Right now, we have one of the biggest programs in the Suburban Council, and we are the only school district in the Suburban Council that does not have a full-time athletic trainer. That is a person on staff who is certified in order to help our athletes to make sure that they are as healthy as possible and to help in the event of an emergency. As we currently exist, when we're hosting competitions at Shaker, we can't host all competitions because we don't have an athletic trainer. So we would have to call another district and ask them if we could pay their athletic trainer to come on site just so we could host competitions at Shaker High School. And that is not something that we want to continue to do as we continue to grow the number of opportunities we have for our student athletes. We have a new individual arts assessment pathway. This year that will result in a new elective in our music program, which will allow students who aren't necessarily in performing groups but love music. So they might like music production, they might like songwriting, they might like guitar playing. So we'll offer this elective to allow more students to access that pathway. We are adding a new director of health and safety. We currently have a supervisor of nursing, which would be the health part of it. So this is not a totally new position, but a repurposing of a current position to take a 10-month supervisor and turn that position into an 11-month director who will be in charge not just of nursing and health, but also of safety. And a very exciting position we have, it's contingent upon the receipt of a grant. We're very close to getting the grant and we hope to have good news soon, but a Shaker Garden Coordinator. If you've been at Shaker High School, you know we have a thriving and beautiful garden. It has fruits, vegetables, flowers, herbs, peach trees, apple trees. It is an unbelievable garden that is sustained with an irrigation system that has been installed with the help of our partners from Forts Ferry Farm. Our coordinator has been working with helping our students to learn how to cook with vegetables or fruits that are right from our garden. She has been working to help our community because each summer we open up a stand at Shaker High School where once we harvest the fruits and vegetables, we share them with our community for free. She's helping to develop a Latham Ridge garden, which is already installed and continues to grow, no pun intended. She's also helping this year with a Loudonville garden. And if we were to get this grant, she would be a full-time teacher on special assignment, working as a garden coordinator with all of our buildings, all of our students, to help everybody know about local food and how we sustain our land, and we can work together with our community to do that. Related to that, we have some new staffing positions based on our growth and enrollment. We'll be adding 2 new E&L teachers this year. We'll add 0.8 in our world language department. We're adding 1.2 in our special education department. We're adding an additional social worker district-wide, 3 teacher assistants. We're adding 0.2 to a speech pathology position that is currently a 0.8 position. We're adding a 0.4 teacher of technology at the middle school, a 0.2 social studies teacher, a 0.2 science teacher, a 0.8 health and PE certified teacher, a 0.3 music teacher, a 0.1 art teacher, all of which will help with electives and our growing enrollment. We're adding 2 new safety hall monitors for the district. And again, as we said, the repurpose 1.0 director of health and safety, and in athletics, the athletic trainer at 1.0. So to go over the budget summary at the 10,000-foot level, we have some information to share regarding both our capital reserve project as well as our typical budget development. You may remember that in 2017, the voters approved the establishment of a capital reserve. A capital reserve is the district bank account, if you will. We put money in so that we can do the kinds of projects where it might be routine maintenance or it might be a new project. Right now, that capital reserve has a little over $10 million in it. So we are going to spend about half of that, $5.7 million, on all kinds of improvements around the district. So everything from maintenance kinds of things like replacing the storm drain at Shaker High School. As you know, we have a lot of wetlands surrounding the district. Doing some abatement of lead, doing some cafeteria abatement work of asbestos, adding water heater replacement. So some of it is infrastructure improvements, and then some are other improvements. So we will be adding upgrades to all of our elementary gymnasium equipment. We will be adding some entry work at the high school where the gym is, so we can have a separate entrance when we have evening events there. And we're going to be adding single occupancy bathrooms in the high school in 3 different wings to replace some of our bathrooms that are multi-stall and make them more usable for all of our students. So as you know, for a school district in the state of New York, we have to present a balanced budget. We can't work with a deficit. And we have 2 ways of earning revenue. One is through property taxes and one is through state aid. So if you are to look at the property tax levy, from $93 million in 23-24, moving to $95 million in 24-25. It's a change of a little over $2 million, or a 2.5% increase to the property tax levy. We also have payments in lieu of taxes, and you can see that there is a significant change because there are a number of new payments in lieu of taxes coming on board this year. So that will account for what we collect either as taxes or the payment in lieu of taxes. And that is complemented by our state aid. You've probably heard a lot in the news about foundation aid and state aid to different districts. Foundation aid is the largest amount of state aid that we get, and we are growing in enrollment, and foundation aid is tied to enrollment. So you can see that we are getting over a $2 million increase in foundation aid this year. So we're getting over a 7% increase. This is based on the governor's budget. We know that they're coming close, we think, to a budget, but because we didn't have it in time and we have to present you with a budget, we're using the governor's numbers. That may change slightly up, but for right now, that's a 7.1% increase. And then you see all the different other aid categories. So in the end, our state aid is going up by 4.8%. These are our proposed expenditures. You can see that they total $154,092,414. And then you can see the breakdown that is 100%. So you can see the vast majority of our budget is related to salaries and benefits because we are a school district. We are the largest employer in the town of Colonie. And so that is where the vast majority of our budget goes. So let's talk a little bit about the budget summary. So you can see in the top chart in red, the 2.5 tax levy increase that I just talked to you about. So if you look at the adopted budget from 23-24, you can see it was 146 million and change. The projected budget for 24-25 is 154 million and change. That's a dollar difference of $7,105,544. Or a 4.83% increase from last year's budget to this year's budget. And when we look at the adopted tax levy, that results in a 2.5% tax increase, and it is an estimated use of about $700,000 worth of fund balance. However, that amount, that dollar difference of $7 million includes the over 5 million in transfer to capital, which we already have. So that actually has no tax impact to our residents because we're simply taking that money out of what we already have saved, but we have to present it that way. So if we were to take that aside for the sake of argument and look at the adopted budget from last year, 146 million, and the projected budget of 148 million, if we exclude the transfer to capital projects that we're doing, we're only increasing the budget by $1,399,964, or 0.95%. So slightly under 1% budget to budget increase when we're not thinking about that $5 million that we already have. So just to be clear, there is no tax impact on the transfer to capital work. We have to include, though, that amount in our budget because we're going to be spending that amount of money if the budget passes. So in summary, our budget from last year was $146,986,870. That's for the year we're currently in. We are proposing to increase the budget to $148,386,834. That excludes that transfer to capital. Remember that $5 million. So the increased budget to budget is $1,399,964. That is, again, an increase of 0.95%. So just under 1% increase budget to budget. The projected, tax levy increase is 2.5%. Now our tax cap is 3.61. We've been doing the tax cap long enough that we know that it's not really 2% once we do the formula. We're not going up to the tax cap of 3.61%. We're setting our tax levy increase at 2.5%. That's the total amount that we collect as the district. However, for an individual resident, the estimated tax rate increase is 1.62%. What accounts for that difference? As we get growth in the district and there are more businesses or more homes or more taxpayers, the amount we collect spreads out over a greater number of people. So while we're collecting 2.5% overall, based on the work we've done with the town of Colonie and knowing the growth in North Colonie, the anticipated tax rate increase for our voters is actually 1.62%. Now, when we have our vote this year on May 21st, Not only will you be voting on the budget as well as Board of Education seats, you will be voting on a capital project. You may very well remember that we had a project in 2017 where we worked on the elementary schools and the middle schools. We did a lot of work and planning for the high school, but because of enrollment growth, we did not start with the high school. We started with our elementary and middle schools. So we're excited to talk to you about the capital project tonight that will largely work on our facilities at Shaker High School. Hi, I'm Kathleen Skeels, Superintendent of the North Colonie Central School District. I'm excited to talk to you about our capital project, which will be on the ballot on May 21st. This project will be focused on Shaker High School. In May of 2017, we concentrated primarily on the elementary schools and the middle school because, as you know, we've had a tremendous growth in enrollment in North Colonie. So we created a beautiful 6 through 8 middle school, and we converted our elementary buildings to K-5. What we cut out of the project was Shaker High School because the growth in enrollment would obviously hit there later. Shaker High School is a vibrant and wonderful place filled with incredibly curious and active students. Shaker High School opened in 1958. At that time, there were approximately 1,100 students enrolled in grades 7 through 12. Currently, Shaker High School has 2,100 students, and it is forecasted to have over 2,300 students by the end of this decade. We are teaching students here in the 21st century in a building that was largely constructed in the 1950s.
The high school is in need of a facelift, a renovation, and not just for aesthetics, but also for our capacity and our ability to really serve our students in different content areas.
There's definitely a lot of challenges with just like the space that we have right now. It's very, very outdated. With a physics or a chemistry sort of class where it's more hands-on, can really like limit what you're able to do.
Currently, I'm enrolled in AP Biology, and in the full class, we have about 30 kids, but even fitting about 20 people in here trying to do a lab has been very, very difficult.
I have been in, I think, every single art classroom we've had. The biggest issue I think we have with this space is that there's not enough room. The class gets shut down really quick because there's so many kids who want to take ceramics classes.
For all of our students, our #1 goal in North Colonie is that they can find their passion, whatever it is, and we want to make sure that this building project, whether you're a scientist, an artist, a musician, a robotics student, whatever your passion is, we have the facilities here that can help you grow your skills, develop your passions, and help you to see how you can make meaningful contributions to our world.
The district leadership team has worked hard to develop a scope of work for this project that mitigates the tax impact to the community. The total cost of the project is estimated to be approximately $94.1 million, but we are in a very favorable position to receive almost 78% building aid back on the cost of the project. New York State incentivizes school districts to improve their campuses through the provision of building aid, so the taxpayers will end up spending approximately $20.6 million after building aid is applied.
The capital project vote will be scheduled on the same day as our annual school budget vote. This year it's Tuesday, May 21st. The voting is at the district office, which is 91 Fiddler's Lane. We're open from 6 a.m. for all of you who like to come before work, and we're here till 9 p.m. at night. North Colonie residents who are registered voters are able to request a ballot and vote by mail this year. If you would like to request a ballot, simply scan the QR code that's on the screen or go to our North Colonie website to request your ballot at any time. So as we look at our enrollment growth and look at the patterns, you are aware, of course, that the district has been adding new students for the last decade. So if we look, the district in 2013 had 5,347 students, and as of 2023, it had 6,022 students, and a change obviously of 675 students. In that time period, however, you can see that Shaker High School only changed by 67 students. Again, that's because the growth in enrollment was really at the elementary school level, and we've watched that group of students grow, and they're moving into the high school. By the end of next school year, by the end of 2025, the district is forecasted to add another 243 students. We're certainly on pace with that right now. But notice the change here. Of that 243 students, the Shaker High School will be going up 103 students. So almost half the enrollment growth in the next year is going to happen at the high school. As we move on toward the end of this decade at 2030, the district starts to level off and we hit 6,258 students, down by 7 from 2025. But look what happens at Shaker High School. They're still adding. There's another 150 students coming into Shaker High School. So if we look from 2025 on, the high school is adding another 250 students. And if we think about it now, it opened with 1,100 students in grades 7 through 12. It currently has over 2,100 students in grades 9 through 12. So we really do need to add additional space to help give the proper room for all of our students and the kinds of education we want to be able to deliver here in the 21st century. It's interesting because over the last decade, New York State has lost over 9% of its K through 12 public school students as people have moved out of the state. That is not true, as we've just talked about, for North Colony. Our difference of moving up from 2013-14 Beds Day enrollment to 22-23 was an increase of 838 students, or a 16% increase. If we look locally, Niskayuna has moved up 5%. They are the only other district that shows an increase. If we look around us, all of our neighbors are at most staying just about the same if we look to Guilderland or South Colonie, or losing a significant number of students. At this point in North Colonie, we are bigger than the city school district of Saratoga Springs. We are bigger than the city school district of Troy. And in fact, if you look at the region, we have Schenectady, Albany, and Shenandoah as the only 3 districts in the region that are bigger than North Colonie. We are now 4th in the region. So you heard about the capital project. You know that it will largely involve the high school. So what exactly will it involve? So we have, if we look at J, which is on the right-hand side, and you can see it's colored in lavender and it's outlined in orange, that will be a new addition to the building. That will add additional classroom spaces to J-Wing, which we need certainly additional classroom spaces. We'll also renovate the bathrooms in those areas to give the single toilet rooms, as we talked about earlier. In the middle of this drawing, you see in the greenish color, those are our current 2 cafeterias as well as our kitchen. We are going to completely gut and renovate that space so that we can have more space devoted to our student seating areas and less space devoted to our kitchen, because like everything else, appliances have gotten a lot smaller. We need a much smaller footprint for our kitchen. So we'll improve our seating as well as the serving line so there's better flow, so that students don't spend so much of their lunch period standing in line waiting to get their lunch, but can move through quickly and eat their lunch comfortably. If you look on the left-hand side, again, you can see the orange. Anything you see outlined in orange means we are adding space, as well as, of course, doing renovations. So this is our music wing. So we will be adding to our auditorium. Now, you just heard how big North Colony is as a district. And as big as we are, we have the 2nd smallest auditorium in the entire suburban council. It is very small for the amount of students we have participating in our theater programs and our music programs and our performing groups. So we will be adding a balcony to the auditorium so that we can have additional seating. We will be adding space by expanding our music rehearsal spaces. We will bump out the wall so we can have additional square footage, but we're also going to literally raise the roof so that we can have the right kind of space for the right kinds of acoustics. So as our band or our orchestra is practicing, we have the right kind of rehearsal spaces. And we will also renovate the lobby, and the restrooms in the lobby will be renovated as well. As we go through this, we will be renovating classrooms. So if you look on the left-hand side, you see a classroom that currently exists in Shaker High School, and your eyes are not playing tricks on you. Those are chalkboards that still exist. In the corner, you see a big tube TV, like many of us probably don't have in our houses anymore. You see the desks that are the one unit desk where the chair is attached to the actual tablet part, making it very hard to regroup or work in different configurations other than rows. If you look on the right, this is one of the middle school classrooms that was renovated. You can see that there's tiered seating, that it's at different levels. Everything is movable, so you can configure and reconfigure, so students can collaborate and work together much as workspaces exist today. As we talked about with the bathrooms, on the right-hand side, you see where we currently have the multi-stall bathroom. We are moving to what is displayed for you on the left, which are single stall toilet rooms. So you see that they are all individual. You go in, you lock the door. It obviously shows that it's occupied. As you can see here, the sinks are open to the hallway, so there's better supervision. So people aren't lingering at the sinks. Students aren't spending too much time there. They're able to get back to class. And this is something we've seen in other districts regionally. And the students like it better, the parents like it better, the administrators like it better. And this was changing the bathroom layouts was actually the top priority of our current students at Shaker High School. A second priority was the cafeteria. If you look on the right first, you will see the renovated cafeteria at the middle school. And you can see two round areas on the right side of that picture. Those are both individual serving lines that kids can access. And then you can see toward the front that there are individual register stations. So the kids can come around, they can get the food that they want, and then line up in whichever register station. You can only see one, but there are multiple, so that they can pass through quickly and then get to their tables. On the left-hand side, you see a current view of our La Follette cafeteria. What you can see right now is it is a one-way line. It is very narrow. Our kids have to work all the way through that line. And then at the end of that line that you can't see in the picture is the one register that they go through. So you can see there's no ability to move freely. It restricts the traffic flow. It was built for a far smaller school. So in opening up the cafeteria, again, we'll provide more seating space, we'll provide a better environment, and we'll also enable students to get through the line faster so they can sit down and have a break during their day when they have their lunch and not have to be stressed by trying to get through the line and only having a few minutes to eat their lunches. We talked about the fact that we have the second smallest auditorium. If you look on the top left, that is a view looking all the way out at Shaker High School's auditorium. It seats about 700 people. You can see on the top, the lights are the old light panels into the ceiling. Below that on the left, you can see the redesigned Shaker Middle School auditorium. You'll notice that you can see all the acoustic panels that are up on the ceiling. You can see the lights that are built in. It is a bigger space and a more modern space that we will renovate when we renovate the high school auditorium, as well as adding a balcony. So that's another place where we're literally raising the roof so that we can make extra seating. On the right-hand side, you see some of the performing rooms. I'll start on the bottom. On the bottom, you see one of the performing spaces at the middle school. You can see it has a high ceiling, acoustic panels on the ceiling. You can also see the instrument storage all around the perimeter. And if you look closely, you'll realize that each of those storage spaces are not the same size because they're designed specifically for instruments. They're not just generic storage, so they're all different kinds of spaces so that they easily and safely and securely fit the instruments that the students use. Above that, on the top right, you see our current Shaker High School band room. You can see there is one wall on the side that you're looking straight at that has some instrument storage. There's not a lot of space for that. A lot of times the kids are having to put everything under those chairs. Those are tiered, and so it is dangerous because kids have to go up and down. And it also has that lower ceiling. It's a very crowded space for the size of our performing group. So that will get enlarged and completely redone to better suit the needs of our student musicians today. If we go ahead now and we look at our second floor of Shaker High School, one of the things you'll notice is a lot of green. We'll start with J-Wing on the right. And again, where it is in orange, that's an addition. Those will be new science classrooms, science labs. And if you look, every other classroom that you see that is in the green color is a classroom that will get renovated. Those are largely all science classrooms, and our science classrooms are original to the building. They were literally built more than a decade before man walked on the moon. They are not conducive to the way that students are supposed to learn about science today. They're not conducive to the collaborative way we teach science, and they all need renovation in order for us to teach science to the standards that would allow our students to really thrive in the scientific world. If you look over to the left-hand side, you can see that in pink, we are adding some spaces for our art program. And again, if you see in the orange, this is again the addition of the auditorium balcony. We're also doing a new renovation to our art gallery. We have a small art gallery, again, not appropriately sized for the number of students in our art program. So we'll be adding a whole new space, which will have windows and light, and will be able to be used as a classroom space as well as a gallery space. And we will be adding again to our music and our practice rooms, which is also in the orange. In addition to those renovations, we will be adding a synthetic surface to our lower Malloy field on this particular spring, and on a day like today. That lower Malloy is almost unusable. It floods very quickly, very easily. We play several sports there. We play lacrosse, we play soccer, and it is very often unusable in its current state. We will change our lighting on Walker Field to LED lighting. Not only is that cleaner lighting, it doesn't bleed throughout the neighborhood because it's very directed on the field. It also obviously saves energy and money because it is the updated lighting. We'll add an LED entrance sign to Shaker High School. We'll keep the pillars because we love our tradition, but we'll be able to have an automated sign. So for example, when we had the snowstorm the weekend of the Grease musical, it would have been great if somebody from home could have programmed that there was a change to the time for the matinee, or that the Saturday night performance was postponed till Sunday night. But we still have the old-fashioned sign where a student has to go out or an adult has to go out and actually put letters on the sign. We'll also be updating our HVAC system, as well as our wiring, our plumbing, our roofing. As we go into all these spaces, we will also be doing all the infrastructure upgrades that are necessary in order to keep our building in its best operating condition. So if you look, you saw a little bit of this in the video, but on the top left is what our science labs currently look like. And what you will see is there are lab tables, but there's not a space for instruction as much as it is just for the lab, because we have separate classrooms for instruction and doing your science laboratory work in many cases. And that is not the way that the science standards for New York State work. That is not the way we want to be doing science. We want to be able to be teaching the students about the science and then have them doing the work. So you can see on the right a rendering of Queensbury High School's science labs that we have looked at, where the instructor, excuse me, has a demonstration station, and then the students are able to both, as you can see in the far corner, work on their studies, but then on the right-hand side, they're also able to do the laboratory work that is necessary in order to achieve those standards. As I had mentioned, some of the work we'll do will be infrastructure related. At the top, you see an aerial view of Shaker High School. So you can see, if you look, what looks like almost light blue on the roof in many spaces. Those are all areas where the roof needs to be replaced. And you know that if you've done roofing for your own house, roofing is very expensive. So we'll be making those upgrades and repairs and replacements to our roof in Shaker High School. On the bottom left, you see what is now where the lighting is, which is up above the auditorium. That will all come out as we'll get state-of-the-art lighting, and this will be the space where we'll be able to add a balcony so that we can add additional seating. In the middle, you see our very traditional Shaker High School sign. If you're on 155, you know it well. That's where we would love a digital sign so that we can get messages out to our community. And on our right, you see what is currently our art gallery. You can see it looks like a long, narrow hallway. We make the best use out of it that we possibly can, but to be able to expand it, to give it more of an atrium feel, give it more lighting, so that our students who are constantly winning awards for their artwork have a place where they can display, they can critique, and they can share their artwork so that the rest of the high school can see it instead of just having it within the art rooms. As we talked about, we will be adding improvements. So if you look at the top left, you see our current Walker Field. Below that is Lower Malloy. What you're seeing there is obviously the puddling in the grass, but you also see underneath the fence, I don't know if you can see that wooden ramp that we use to walk over, because the puddles are so deep there that we've actually put that in so our athletes can cross over that to get onto the field when it's very wet. We really need to improve this for our student athlete safety and also our usability. We're unable to play so many games there, and we have to rely on one field. We have between 750 and 1,000 student athletes every season, and so it becomes very hard to maintain a program of our size with only one field that is usable in almost all conditions. On the right-hand side, you see on the bottom, the lighting that is currently there. And if you've ever driven in the fall, we talk about Friday night under the lights for football, you can see where those lights are pointed. That they project a lot of light, but it goes off, it's into the neighborhood. There's a lot of bleed. So the newer lights are LED, as I said, they save money, they save energy, but they're so directed. We get better quality lighting, and it's also directed right at the field and not so much out into the neighborhood. So let's talk a little bit about what happens on May 21st when you come in to vote. The first thing that you'll be voting on is the budget. This is what you are used to seeing, which asks you, shall the proposed budget expenditure be agreed upon? And it's yes or no to agreeing to the budget of $154,092,414 for the 24-25 school year. Then you will vote for your Board of Election representatives. We have 2 seats available this year, the seat of Matt Cannon, the seat of Penny Grinnell. So you'll have 2 that you will vote for. And then you will vote on a resolution for the capital project. And I just want to go over again what was said in the video, because I think this is incredibly important. So the total cost of the capital project, all the additions, all the renovation, all the infrastructure work, is $94.1 million. However, We are in an excellent position in terms of our building aid this year. Our building aid is at 78%, which means of the 94.1 million, New York State will carry $73.5 million of that burden. They will be responsible for 78% of it, leaving our local taxpayers with $20.6 million. Now, I want to reference that in 2017, at that point, our building aid was at 55%. So we are significantly higher, with New York State picking up over 3/4 of the cost of this project. It has to do with the number of students in our district. It has to do with the amount of debt that we have that has come off. So we're at an excellent time to go out for this project because of that 78% building aid. Now, the governor this year brought forward, and the legislator passed an ability for New York State voters to vote by mail. So that means you can vote by mail, not just absentee ballot. You can request and vote by mail if you are a registered voter. So you'll see here a QR code. That QR code, if you scan that, you are able to request a mail-in ballot. It will take you to a page which will tell you the rules. If you're not yet a registered voter, it will tell you how you can do that. If you are, it will take you to a place where you simply put in your name and address, and the district will mail you your ballot. The ballots will not be sent out until the week of April 27th. That is the timeline set forth by the law. The ballots will be returned with a postage paid envelope. So you don't have to worry about finding a stamp or postage. They'll be ready to go. You can fill out your ballot and you can pop it in the mail and return it to us. You could also bring it to 91 Fiddler's Lane. If you wanted to drop it off, we'll have a drop box there. But we know that many of our residents are very busy people. So trying to get to central office at 91 Fiddler's Lane on May 21st may not always be easy. So we now have this mail-in option, and we'll be happy to send you a ballot if that is easier for you to be able to complete your ballot that way. Absentee ballots are still available. You know, if you are out of town or unable to vote due to illness or anything like that, you could always request an absentee ballot. That's slightly different. You have to fill out a form explaining your reason for an absentee ballot. But now that you have the option to do a mail-in ballot, all you have to do is put your name on the form and we'll send it to you. In order to vote, you have to be 18 years of age, you have to be a U.S. citizen, and you have had to have resided in the district for at least 30 days prior. Now, we always have to inform you about what happens if the budget doesn't pass. If the budget doesn't pass, the district has the ability to put the budget up again, but if it doesn't pass a second time, then we have to adopt a contingent budget. And what that means is we cannot raise any more money via taxes than we did in the prior year. So in other words, instead of adding 2.5% to the levy, we add 0. So what does that mean in real dollars? That means we would have a budget shortfall of $2.3 million. And so what we would have to do to balance the budget would be to reduce our budget through programs and staffing by $2.3 million. So if the budget were to fail, we would have to come in and make reductions of $2.3 million. In addition, the contingent budget would also restrict any purchase of equipment, any capital expenditures, so that money that we already have in our capital reserve that we were going to spend to do some of the improvements, like things like storm drains or upgrades to our bathrooms, all of that would be put on hold. And also our facilities could not be used by any outside community organization. So the QR code is here. When we send out the mailer, we'll be sending out a 12-page mailer, which will talk to you about the highlights of the budget. It will talk to you about the capital project, and it will also have this QR code, but you can scan it right now and you will immediately be taken to the page. It is, if you don't want to do mail-in ballot and you want to come in person, we're happy to have you. We'll be at the Goodrich Building, which is 91 Fiddler's Lane, from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. on Tuesday, May 21st, and you can cast your ballot in person if you would prefer to do that. We are pleased to be able to share this information with you about our budget and about our capital project, both of which will be on the ballot on May 21st.